In October of 2014, comedian Hannibal Buress took the stage to perform a stand-up set in Philadelphia. At one point, he launched into a riff criticizing comic legend Bill Cosby, over Cosby's public bemoaning of modern black culture and young black men in particular. Buress said, he gets on TV saying, "Pull your pants up, black people. I was on TV in the 80s. I can talk down to you because I had a successful sitcom. Yeah, but you rape women, Bill Cosby, so turn the crazy down a couple notches." Buress had been working on this section of his set at several previous shows, but on this night, someone in the audience was recording the set with their phone. The video went online and quickly went viral, and soon a dam broke, and the comic and pop cultural empire of the man once widely regarded as America's dad came crumbling down. Accusations regarding Cosby's heinous behind-the-scenes behavior with women were certainly nothing new, per se. In the early 80s, a woman named Joan Tarnished told a freelance journalist she had been assaulted by Cosby, but the journalist decided not to write a story on the allegation. In 1996, playmate Victoria Valentino made sexual assault allegations against Cosby while filming an interview about the lives of playmates, but Playboy decided not to publish the interview. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler made jokes about Cosby's behavior on SNL in 2005, and a 2009 episode of 30 Rock featured Tracy Morgan's Tracy Jordan character angrily yelling about what Cosby had done to his cocktail waitress Aunt Paulette back in 1971. But at that time, the darker side of Cosby was primarily considered more of an open secret in Hollywood, especially among the comedy scene. The larger public were not as aware, and journalists and those in the entertainment business who did know were hesitant to say much publicly, due to lack of evidence and fear of Cosby's still significant influence and power. But the viral Buress monologue quickly changed that. The accusations were finally covered by major media outlets, and soon more and more women, eventually over 50, came forward with stories about being drugged and then sexually assaulted by Cosby between the years of 1965 and 2004. A deposition conducted in 2006, in which Cosby admitted he had administered sedatives to women he wanted to have sex with, was finally made public in 2015, and in 2018 he was found guilty of 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. Cosby's conviction would be overturned in 2021, citing violations of due process rights, and Cosby was released from prison after having served 3 years. But, in addition to continued civil lawsuits against Cosby from previous victims, which he either lost or settled, the damage to Cosby's legacy and reputation was understandably ongoing. Reruns of Cosby's previous TV shows were pulled from TV and streaming services. W. Kamau Bell made the award-winning We Need to Talk About Cosby, a 4-part documentary about the now complicated legacy of a once-beloved cultural icon. And while obviously the most important part of the story was the trauma of what Cosby's victims had gone through, the world was also left wrestling with how to reconcile past enjoyment of Cosby's comedic output with their new understanding of the actual man. Would Cosby's formerly groundbreaking stand-up and TV shows have any lasting popularity or legacy now? One comedian with interesting thoughts on the matter is Eddie Murphy, who had frequently spoke of his years-long bitter feud with Cosby, even before Cosby's scandals were made public. Murphy has talked about how Cosby was threatened by Murphy's growing success and popularity throughout the 80s, and had at one point called Murphy to chastise him for how dirty his stand-up act was. When Murphy returned to SNL to host in 2019, he joked in the monologue, "If you would have told me 30 years ago that I would be this boring, stay-at-home house dad, and Bill Cosby would be in jail, even I would have taken that bet." Murphy then launched into a Cosby impression, asking, "Who is America's dad now?" All of which made it only more notable that years earlier, Murphy had actually remade one of Cosby's most influential, groundbreaking projects, with a movie that was not successful at the time, but would now arguably be even more banished from the public memory due to its Cosby connections. The year is 2002, and Columbia Pictures are ready to release a comedic adaptation of a groundbreaking spy TV series from the 60s, and in the process, hopefully launch the next big action comedy franchise with I Spy. Welcome once again to Fair Letter Franchise, the show dedicated to some of Hollywood's most infamous mistakes, missteps, and misfires. This is Trev.
And I'm Chris. And I spy with my little eye something that is a convicted sex offender.
Yeah, I mean, we have to go there, don't we? We just,
Yeah.
let's just get out of the way. We won't dwell on it.
Nope.
We won't dwell on it. But it is it's the elephant in the room this week,
Mm-hmm.
and that is our third installment of Summer Surprise. And look, if everyone out there, if you were worried during Ring In 2023 with the ABCs of TV, or during Summer Sweeps, our two previous series where we looked at TV shows turned into movies, I bet maybe there's a whole contingent out there that's like, what about 2002's I Spy?
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, we did forget, but our online randomizer sure didn't, and it said, hey, for your third episode of Summer Surprise, you are looking at 2002's I Spy. Chris, why don't you tell listeners about it?
For sure. That's great. It is directed by Betty Thomas. She does a lot of TV. She also did the Brady Bunch movie.
Good movie.
Private Parts.
Good movie.
John Tucker Must Die.
Nope.
Okay. And then and Dr. Dolittle with Eddie Murphy. So
Yeah.
this is based on the 1965 show of the same name, created by David Friedkin and Morton Fine, starring Robert Culp and one Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
The movie is written by Marianne and Cormac Wibberley. What names, by the way? What
I
names?
know.
Wow. They've written some interesting stuff here. Quite a list. I chose a few. The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Bad Boys 2, an action masterpiece.
I don't like it, but I know you love it. I'm in the not like it camp.
Yeah. National Treasure.
Love it.
And then also Charlie's Angels Full Throttle.
Yeah.
Kind of right.
A movie you and I defend to the death.
Yeah, and we recently discussed on our DOA Dead or Alive episode. So check that out. They also wrote for the Land of the Lost show, speaking of Summer Sweeps or whenever the hell we did the Land of the Lost episode, which is funny. And then, of course, there's more writers on this movie. Jay Sherrick and David Ron, more TV background. They also wrote Zookeeper, Norbit, The Smurfs, and then an F2F alum, Baywatch. So quite the cavalcade of talent on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't know all this going in, because if you had told me, like, I was like, hey, don't worry, this one's written by the writer of Norbit, Zookeeper, The Smurfs, and Baywatch. Boy, I would have really been kind of miserable sitting down to put this one on. Yeah.
The budget of the film, I always like to say the budget's $70 million. Domestically, it made 33.5, and worldwide, it made a colossal failure of 51 million. So this was, I said DOA already, but yeah, bad. Yeah. Eddie Murphy had a really bad year in 2002. This is the third bomb after Showtime, and then the infamous The Adventures of Pluto Nash, which I'm assuming one day we'll have to talk about, or like, I mean, I feel like there's no... I feel like that one had to have wanted sequels, right?
I think maybe, I can't even remember if it's on our list, but it sure seems like something that's, probably coming down our pipeline at some point, unfortunately. Yeah. I've never seen it. Have you?
I have not seen it, no.
Yeah. I did see Showtime in the theater, and I remember that was a mistake. So
that's funny.
Well, good. I'm glad I got a laugh, because guess what didn't? Showtime.
Yeah. Where do you want to start with this one? Because, yeah.
I mean, I guess the natural thing to do would be talk about the show, but I'm going to guess you've never seen the show, and guess what? Even though I like to do my research, and sometimes I go and watch the show, I didn't do it. No.
Okay,
it's the Cosby of it all, Like, that's a part of it, yeah.
I don't blame you on this one. Mm-hmm. And also, I think it's pretty hard to find, too. I read that in 2015, after all of this craziness had, started with him, that they pulled it from syndication and pulled it off of, every streaming service and whatever you can find. Makes sense. I didn't think that you would seek it out, but even if you tried, probably pretty hard, honestly.
I guess if you just want to know, because you often ask me, do I even have any kind of semblance or knowledge of the show in general? Yeah. It's a show when I was a kid I only knew existed in the general in the sense of I'm obviously, as I said 100,000 times in this podcast, I'm a child of the '80s. So I grew up in like the heyday of the Cosby Show when Bill Cosby was still a national treasure. And like when I was a kid, I thought he was very funny. You know, I loved that the stand-up special, Bill Cosby himself. You know, when saw some of his movies in the theater. And then there was always that thing where when you're a kid, you're like, did you know that he was also like in a dramatic spy show when he was younger? And that was just like always so weird to think about, you know, but I never went back to catch up on it. But even still now, that's weird to think of, because you just assume, especially knowing that the movie's a comedy, you assume I Spy must have been a comedy show, right? And in our research, we discovered, no, that is not at all the case.
No. Can I say something right off the bat that is not controversial? Well, maybe controversial, but also like, who gives a shit about this guy anymore? But I can't stand Bill Cosby.
Well, yeah, not a controversial statement anymore.
No, not anymore. But like, I've never found him funny. I've tried watching stand-up specials back in the day, pre all of this, you know, controversy, pre all his crimes. Coming to light, I guess, you know, the crimes happened a long time ago, but I never got it. And I like a lot of quote unquote legendary comic talents and stand-up comedians, and they always say, oh yeah, one of my favorite stand-ups like is Bill Cosby. And I'm like, what the fuck I don't know. Like I think I watched oh, I looked it up earlier and I can't remember, but it was like his last special. Was it like 2013? Like I'm not finished yet or something? Like I'm far from done or something.
Yeah,
like,
because I remember at the time the joke became like, wow, that sounds like a threat now, you know?
Yeah. And I watched that and I don't even think I got through it. Like I've never found him funny. I dabbled with the Cosby Show. Unfortunately is in the news as of today. Our recording is, who died again? The son, right?
Malcolm Jamal Warner, who was awesome and by all accounts also just a great person. So yeah, that's too bad. You know, he was a guest star in one of our faves, Community. He played what's her name? Why am I forgetting the character's name? Her ex-husband.
I don't know. I can't remember.
See, we're huge fans of Community.
Annie? No.
No, not Annie.
Oh, the other one.
Yvette Nicole Brown's character, but her name is escaping me. Yeah.
Shirley.
Shirley, yeah, Shirley's ex-husband.
Yeah, right. So yeah, the Cosby Show, not my thing. I don't know, man. I just wasn't.
Never got into Fat Albert.
No. I remember when that movie came out, though. I think I was working at the theater at the time, so I dabbled in and out of seeing it while, like, you know, theater checks and this and that. But yeah, something about Bill Cosby.
That as we bring it up now, I realize also I might have to add to our list. It's just I hadn't been thinking about it.
But like, I guess like you said you liked him as a kid. Like, did you? Well, did you really? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. So it's that. Did I like him as a kid, or was he just such a big part of culture when I was a kid that I thought I liked him? You know what I mean?
You were forced against your will.
So I remember definitely as a kid, like watching like the Cosby Show and being like, "That's good," right? But when you're a kid, you kind of think everything's good. And there was only there was like 10 shows that everybody watched, and it was just like, yeah, those are good, right? And like that was probably one of them. And even as a kid, I was certainly more into like Alf, you know, than the Cosby Show. The Cosby Show seemed a little like adult for me, but I remember being like, yeah, that's funny. But then as I say that, I did like that stand-up special, like I said. But it's really the only one I remember, Bill Cosby himself. I think that I don't know if I'd still find it funny now going back to it. And obviously, that'd be a much different experience. But then I did mention that I went and saw some of his movies in the theater, and like I have like a very distinct memory of seeing like Leonard Part 6 in the theater, you know. And I'll maintain that that's a great idea for a movie, right? The idea of like, oh, it's Leonard Part 6, but they never made parts 1 through 5. That's funny, but the movie's terrible. And I remember even as a kid knowing it was terrible, you know. So it's like now I say that I'm like, yeah, actually I'm not sure I ever was a huge fan of him. I think it was just like you kind of felt like you had to be back then. You know?
Sure.
Yeah. He was just one of those guys who he was everywhere, and he was the dominant comedic force for a while on TV when I was a kid.
Totally.
But what I do remember is even before you know, his more heinous like things came to light. Starting to get very annoyed with him later on because, and I don't know if you are very aware of this, but there was that whole period too where even before that he started to become like he would do these interviews like criticizing younger comedians and the modern comedy scene and talking about how it was like too filthy and that's when he started to kind of get on my nerves. And that was at a point where too he would just like all of his like recent movies had been terrible, you know, and his like his later attempts to come back to TV weren't very successful. So it was starting to just seem like a bitter old man, you know. And then we found out even worse stuff about him.
You really can't trust people that are so over the top.
Good.
How do I?
I mean, he was America's dad during.
Yeah,
the 80s,
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even not to get political or nothing, but you can't escape it nowadays. But how Trump says he's never had any alcohol, or he's never done a drug.
Yep.
I can't trust you. So I and it's and well, here
Which
we
is
are.
weird because he's so trustworthy about everything else.
No, totally, 100%. Yeah. So a little too prim and proper, and I think that has shown to be a cover for something else. So.
Well, and the thing about that too is if that had never come out, right? And obviously it's good that it did, even though he's didn't. I guess he's out.
Yeah, he's out,
but,
right? He's just like around now, right?
Yeah. Well,
every once in a while, I think he's dead.
He's pretty old and he's pretty sick, so I wouldn't say he's out and about, but
sure.
But the point I was about to make is like, as I said, even before that went down, I kind of was like not really a fan of his anymore. I just kind of moved on, right? You didn't think about him anymore. Mm-hmm. But because I just primarily knew him as like a comedic guy, if all that stuff hadn't come out and we didn't know that part of him now, I think in the lead up to this episode, I would have been more intrigued to go back and watch I Spy, right?
Sure.
Because I would have been like, oh, that's kind of neat to think that there's like this like cool, hip, dramatic spy show with Bill Cosby when he was younger. I wonder what that's like. But now it's just, obviously it's like, okay, actually that still sounds kind of interesting, but also there's just the ickiness on it. And look, don't get me wrong, Chris and I think both enjoy a lot of stuff with canceled people in it. You have to separate the art for the artist if you want to enjoy any media. But it's just like I have better things to do with my time, I guess, than go back and watch the Bill Cosby Spy Show.
I think though it is. You keep saying his dramatic role too, and I kind of want to. That's a great place to kind of pivot to the show itself because it's interesting that they get Bill Cosby to be part of the show because of watching his stand up as well. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that he. The show has comedic elements. I've learned. Yeah. But it is still fairly dramatic, and it's a spy show, and it's more or less focused on the grittier, uglier side of the espionage business.
This is what sounded cool about it to me when I was doing the research. Was they're saying this is at the time where there was tons of spy shows on TV, right? You had The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and The Avengers and all these different things. Obviously Mission Impossible. And what set I Spy apart was that it wasn't about like gadgets or hot, villain women and, or all this stuff. It was just about like, what's it actually like to be a spy, Yeah. So kind of like the more, as you just said, the more like nitty gritty of like, what is like the day-to-day life for these spies. So that actually sounds kind of neat, to a certain degree.
For sure. And also it being kind of like a buddy cop show,
buddy spy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something that me and you both really like. We've talked about it on this podcast a lot. When there's a buddy cop or buddy spy movie we're covering, that is something that is fun and interesting, and you get like usually they're a little yin to their yang, in the show. I just thought I thought it was interesting that Bill Cosby played the more level-headed, dramatic role, brains of the team in this show, because he plays Alexander Scott. And then Robert Culp plays Kelly Robinson. And listeners, before we get into the movie, obviously, those roles are sort of reversed. Mm-hmm. Kelly Robinson is white in the TV show, Caucasian. And he's a well-known tennis player that kind of, travels around playing in tournaments and hobnobbing with like celebrities and stuff. And it's like a cover for his espionage ways, Yeah.
And Bill Cosby like poses as his like trainer, and they go everywhere as these traveling tennis bums, but really they're spies.
Yes. And in the movie, it's reversed. Eddie Murphy plays Kelly Robinson, but he's now a boxer. And I think it's because it fits Eddie Murphy more than a tennis player. And he's also a civilian. So that's interesting. Like there's kind of a difference right off the bat. And then Owen Wilson plays Alexander Scott, who's also already a spy, and he's a fairly semi-competent spy. So Not
Well,
really
and
the
that's-
brains of the team, but like he's just kind of,
Yeah.
an everyman there.
We'll get into those changes more, I'm sure, during our review, because obviously
Sure.
I have things to say about him even without seeing the show. But just
Yeah,
to
yeah.
stay on the show just for a moment, which I know is kind of tough since you and I haven't watched it, but just to give the devil its due, almost literally in this case, because you don't want to hold this against the show, right? And I understand the actor we're talking about, but it is important to say that it was the first American TV drama to feature a black actor in a lead role.
Right.
So, like, pretty groundbreaking show at the time. And as you said, even then, not only like groundbreaking in that regard, but the fact that they allowed him and Culp to be seen as equals in the show. Like Culp's character was like a little bit more of a seasoned spy, but they were like you said, one wasn't the sidekick or vice versa. They were both they were a very equal duo in the show.
Yeah.
And they said there was only the two actors, Culp and Cosby, agreed early on, let's just not even let race be a part of our friendship during the show. Let's not let it be a thing with our contracts or whatever. It's just we're two leading men. This is our show, and then it wasn't really discussed again. And I thought, again, I understand it's tainted now somewhat by the actor involved, but still, I want to give the show credit for that.
Yeah. And also they had this mutual respect for each other on the show and outside the show to kind of rewrite the scripts in more in their voice. Like they didn't like it to be formulaic, but they wanted their personalities to come out, and they treated each other, I guess, like brothers, in and out of the show. Like it sounds like Culp and Cosby were actually good friends until Culp passed away. I can't remember, in the early 2000s, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, he never got to hear the news, so.
Yeah, well, maybe he knew.
Well, true. Yeah, who knows?
I can't trust anything anymore. I have no idea what's going on. Also, in the show, they never stated exactly the organization or the department that they worked for. So they never said it was the CIA. They never said it was the FBI. They didn't say MI6. It was kind of this unspecified government force that they worked for. So to kind of keep it... what am I trying to say? Keep it loose, I guess. I don't know. Keep it more fictitious, maybe. I don't know. Keep it more alive in the viewer's creativity in their mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
But another thing. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say that this might be what you were about to bring up, because I know we looked at kind of the same research, but I did think it was really cool to see, because this is cool even for this would be cool for a show today, let alone a show in the 60s. But the fact that they actually filmed all around the world. They didn't fake it. A lot of shows will do that, and a lot of shows today even do that. They'll be well, yeah, we're suddenly in Japan, but they just are filming on a backlot somewhere in LA. And this is a show that, because it was a spy show, they went all over the world, and the location shooting actually went all over the world. So they filmed episodes in Spain, Japan, Athens, Hong Kong, Madrid, Mexico City, Acapulco, Morocco. That's pretty cool too. Jesus, what was the budget on this thing?
Expensive. The show only lasted 3 seasons. And, critically acclaimed too. You mentioned Cosby was the first African-American lead on the show. Well, he won 3 Emmys for this back-to-back.
Every year it was on, he won Best Actor. Yep.
So, it wasn't for lack of critical success, but yeah, I think the show was just really expensive. These locales were built into the scripts. I'm sure you read that the producers would find 4 or 5 scenic locations around the world and just kind of build the entire storyline about around going there. So
yeah,
it's cool. Definitely a trailblazer. Something that
everything
is
about it
forgotten.
sounds up my alley except for one important element. So.
Yeah. No. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like I said, I thought maybe you would watch the show. I almost texted you too to see if you're going to do it, but
no. And in fact, you know what? Just for those listeners who I left on a cliffhanger a few episodes ago, who are still wondering, did Trevor ever go back and finish that pilot episode of Spencer for Hire? Nope, sure didn't. So every time I log into Amazon Prime, it still tells me I should finish that. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll get to it.
Yeah. So that's the show. I've already mentioned the leading men's names, Eddie Murphy and Owen Wilson, who play our title characters. But the production of this show goes back to 95. Synergy? What's Pictures is that? It is Synergy, right? Just spelt with a G-I.
Yeah.
To be cool,
To be cool, and that precious copyright, baby.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Synergy Pictures acquires the rights to this TV show back in the '90s. David Caruso of CSI Miami fame is linked to it. Will Smith comes on board, or is at least thought about coming on board. That all falls apart, and they just go make this movie in 2001. It's around the time where I think we talked about this in our summer sweeps or ABCs of whatever. all our themes lost to time about TV shows becoming movies. But was there must have been like a thing going on. You know how Hollywood has almost like a everybody gets the same idea at the exact same time, you know?
Yeah.
Like the Armageddon Deep Impact.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's even more like this is kind of even more in line with like everybody's like we got to make 100 comic book movies, and now it's turning into video games, right? Like, what is the big thing of the moment? And this we definitely have talked about this. How there was a moment there, and I don't remember if we kind of tracked what was the first one to hit. I mean, obviously there were some obvious hits like the Brady Bunch movie from the same director, like Addams Family, but whatever it was, suddenly every old TV show that was the IP that Hollywood was exploiting. So you have an old TV show, great, let's turn it into a movie, and it's just I guess it's also just feeling like, yeah, all those people who were kids when these shows were on in the 60s and 70s, they're adults now, and now that have their own families, so they'll come to see the movie that scratches the nostalgic itch of the show they liked when they were younger, but they'll bring their kids too, so that's like maybe 3 or 4 tickets sold, you know, so maybe that was the thinking.
Totally. And like Charlie's Angels, you know, we talked about number 2, but Charlie's Angels 1 came out in 2000. And that was obviously a big enough hit to make a sequel. So it is right around that time if Charlie's Angels hits, and it kind of became a cultural phenomenon at the time. Like it was everywhere. Like those 3 actresses, the style of it, the the craziness of it. Makes sense because you know what? The Mod Squad sure didn't do that. Okay.
No.
No.
What year is the first Mission Impossible movie? Because I would think that probably the success of that is probably like one of the main reasons they're like, well, what are the other spy shows from the time? You know?
Yeah, that was 96.
Yeah. So right. So like a few years before this, but that definitely I'm sure when you're thinking about like, oh, okay, well that was like a huge hit. What was the other like big spy show from the 60s? Oh, I Spy. So that probably led into this as well.
Totally.
And the decision, it's kind of strange because I do want to talk in a moment before we get into the review. I think we should just kind of place where Murphy and Wilson were in their careers at this time.
Yeah, definitely.
But do you think, is your theory, like what's your theory about why they decided to go full comedy? Was it that a strange thing where they're like, I don't know, we know it wasn't a straight comedy show, but everybody does remember it as The Cosby Show, and now, well, not The Cosby Show, but a show with Bill Cosby, and now he's only known as a comedian, so like we might as well just lean into comedy. Like what was the decision there? I mean, obviously, it's not the first time that's been done, right? Of taking something that was dramatic in the past and making it into more serious, or vice versa. But I just wonder what their thinking was with this one.
I mean, I think that has to have a lot to do with it, having Cosby being more associated as a comic actor, right? Mm-hmm. Even I was taken aback reading that this was a slightly dramatic show,
Yeah.
But then also, just to kind of be cool, like I don't know, like the Charlie's Angels thing. I keep going back to that one. That one was kind of played for laughs, right?
Yeah.
So,
but that show is also very like light and breezy, So.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I
haven't seen the show. I don't know, but this almost felt more like, to keep in like David Caruso world, it almost feels more like if like in a few years from now they made an NYPD Blue movie and turned it into like a comedy, But
right.
and I don't think that was the idea the entire time, because you mentioned that David Caruso was like floating around this for a bit. I don't think David Caruso would have been attached to a comedic version of this. So I have to assume when they first were thinking about turning this into a movie, they were thinking of it kind of replicating the show. And then maybe it was just Eddie Murphy expressing an interest. And when you have Eddie Murphy, you take Eddie Murphy,
Totally. And like even switching the characters, right? Like trying to like switching the personality, it makes sense that Eddie, like we'll talk about in the movie, but first time Eddie Murphy appears in the movie playing Kelly Robinson, I'm like, oh, I'm watching Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Like probably the way I think he'd be in Hollywood at the time with all his money and fame and everything. So I think that's more of it, that, we're doing a Cosby movie, quote unquote, and we're getting a huge comedic talent that is interested, why strap him down? You know what I mean? Like, why let his freak flag fly a little bit? You know?
Yeah.
And go all full comedy on this. That would probably be my guess. And also Owen Wilson, he's a little bit he was dabbling in both worlds at this time. So
well, that's okay. That's a good point, because like I said, we should touch on like where they were at this time, because today, I mean, you know, everyone knows Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson's a huge star. It is important to remind everyone that in 2002, this is just the very beginning of Hollywood even attempting to like push Owen Wilson out there as a leading man. Like this is part of the early experiment of that, you know.
Yeah, like right before this movie, he made Behind Enemy Lines.
Yeah.
Which is okay. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you right now, I had not seen this movie, I Spy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And it's actually strange that I haven't, because at this moment in time, I'm looking at Owen Wilson, especially his filmography, and at this time, like Armageddon, I loved Anaconda.
Had you seen? I know you're not a huge Wes Anderson guy, but have you seen Bottle Rocket? Because that's like the least Wes Anderson movie, you know. And he's
I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, I have not gone back to watch that one.
Yeah.
But I saw The Haunting as a kid. I loved Shanghai Noon. I loved Meet the Parents. What I'm getting at is, I was an Owen Wilson fan even as a kid. So it's strange that this one missed. And then looking at Eddie Murphy's filmography right away, I was young enough. I saw Dr. Dolittle in theaters. I remember this is funny that I was young enough, but I did watch Life.
I kind of like Life. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember liking it. Yeah.
I mean, the cornbread scene alone is funny, right?
Hey, girl, you gonna eat your cornbread?
Oh, Trevor. Don't say that.
You talking to me?
Yeah, I think he's talking to you.
No, not at all. I want you to have it. Willie, you mind passing this down to...
Hey, no, I ain't Willie. Don't pass your cornbread to him, for that's your cornbread.
Ray, I'm a grown man, okay? I'm not gonna eat this cornbread. If he wants the cornbread, damn it. Have the cornbread.
Nah, if he wants some cornbread, let him go up to the front and get his own portion of cornbread. That's your cornbread. Fuck him. Hey, man, he gonna eat his cornbread, all right? Fuck you.
Ray, look, I don't need you to take up for me. I'm all right. I'm a grown man. I can handle it.
If you let him have your cornbread, you're gonna be ironing his drawers and clipping his toenails. I know niggas iron.
Maybe I ought to eat your cornbread.
Oh, motherfucker, you can't have my cornbread. That's for damn sure. Because if you try to take my cornbread, part 2 of my killing spree gonna begin up in here on your ass right now. If you think about my cornbread, they get the taste out your mouth. That's for damn sure. Now, fuck him. Fuck that. Because I'm from New York City, goddammit. Nobody take no cornbread from me. And that go for you and any other you motherfucking farmers want to try some shit. You fuck around with me, it's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
You know, Shrek, of course, Dr. Dolittle 2. I even like dabbled into PJs there. So like, I liked both these actors at the same time. And for whatever reason, in 2002, I just did not watch I Spy. Did it just come and go? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I do have memories of it arriving with a thud. You know,
Okay.
and again, we should say, you mentioned this already, but it was like it was coming off of a string of, you know, underperformers for Eddie Murphy, and a particularly embarrassing one with Pluto Nash. You know,
Right.
that 2002 was rough for him, and as I said, I'd seen Showtime and hated it. So by the end and then didn't see Pluto Nash, but heard how terrible it was. Do you think by the end of the year I was like, well, I'm definitely going to check out that third Eddie Murphy movie?
Sure.
Probably not. You know.
That's probably what it
because
is.
he was having his like late 90s and early 2000s are very interesting, because it is like he's not the undeniable comedic force that he was in the 80s and like early 90s, you know, like he's been dinged a couple times now, but you can never entirely count him out. I like when we talk about actors like this, because, you know, even like I should say like the early 90s, you know, he has things like The Distinguished Gentleman, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Vampire in Brooklyn, right in a row. I don't think any three of those perform very well either. And you're like, wow, is Eddie Murphy done? Was he just like this like only an 80s star? And then 96, Nutty Professor. Boom, you know, just undeniable again. And then he gets to do a voice in Mulan, huge. And then, you know, like you said, Life, I think was like a minor hit. Bowfinger, I don't know if it was a huge hit, but definitely people really love it. I love that one.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay, he's back. You know, Eddie Murphy's great. And then he does Night Professor 2, and everyone's like, oh no, you know. But then he finds that with Shrek. So it's just like you could never really figure it out. But I think that like that run in 2002 of Showtime, Adventures of Pluto Nash, and I Spy, that really was kind of I don't know. I think that was like almost like the breaking point where people were like, I don't know, man. Have we given this guy too many chances at a comeback? And other than the Shrek movies, which are always there for him to kind of go back to, and other than like Dreamgirls, which is kind of like a dramatic aberration, it obviously took him a pretty long time to kind of come back. And I'm not even sure he's fully back, but I think some of these like streaming movies he's done recently have been well received enough.
Yeah.
And his like SNL hosting job, which people were waiting for like a long time. I think he's kind of back in the good graces, even if he's not kind of back to being a box office star again.
Yeah, I think people are just happy to see him, really.
Yeah. I think people are rooting for him more now than they were for a while. I think for a while he fell into that where we like kicking a man who's down, who is so successful for a while, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think it's come back around to people being like, okay, he took his lumps for long enough. Now we want to root for him again.
Yeah. And I think there's I think people want movie stars, right? Like, I know this is an age-old conversation for everyone and us, but I think it's proving in the box office that like there's still clamoring for movie stars, but the unfortunate thing is that movie stars are old. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of 20-year-old movie stars. You got Zendaya and Tom Holland.
Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy, and
I wouldn't even put Tom Holland in there. I would just say it's Chalamet and Zendaya.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, that's a good point actually. So when these older actors come back, like hell, the Beverly Cops Axel F came out, and I think me and you both really enjoyed it. I was quite a big fan of that. And that was after our discussion of the Haunted Mansion. So that one hadn't come out yet. So. Yeah, he's an actor, he's a movie star, and I think again that you're rooting for him and you just kind of enjoy. I mean, who doesn't like Eddie Murphy? It's kind of like even Owen Wilson. Like I just like these actors a lot, and I'm rooting for both.
Yeah, I wanted like the Owen Wilson one was interesting because I did. I mean, I was one of those like I've talked before about how in the mid '90s that's when I was a teen and I fell into my heavy like I love independent movies. I was trying to check out like every independent movie, and I was definitely like an early Bottle Rocket adopter. Saw that and was like, this is amazing, and like bought. Right. I think I bought it right away and would like rewatch it and show it to tons of people. And so I was that guy who when he popped up in like a one scene in the Cable Guy, I was like, that's the dude from Bottle Rocket, and then again seeing him in Anaconda and then in Armageddon, it's like, oh man. So I was like very like primed to see this guy, and he kind of had that old school career where he has this huge like indie hit, and then he's got like small roles in all these big movies, and then it's just like it keeps building and building till like 2000 where they give him a lead role in Shanghai Noon. Even there, they're like, yeah, you're partnered with Jackie Chan though, It's the pressure's not entirely on you. And then 2001, Zoolander, but you're teamed with Ben Stiller,
Sure.
But then at the same time, he's got the Royal Tenenbaums. So it was like you just said, everything was like firing with him on all cylinders at that point. Until I would actually say, I do remember Behind Enemy Lines. I never saw that either, and I can't remember if that was like a hit or not. But I remember when that movie like came out, I did have this like weird like, why are they trying to make Owen Wilson into like an action guy already? It felt like let's just stick with the comedy. That definitely felt very out of place suddenly to push him into that soon, or maybe it was his choice. But it's also interesting that. I don't know if we're giving away too much. The very first scene of I Spy actually immediately reminded me of Behind Enemy Lines. I mean, like a movie I've never seen, but I was like, it kind of gave me the vibes of like the trailer for that movie. Yeah.
That's a guy I'm rooting for. He's he just showed up on Hot Ones, that YouTube show with the chicken wings and all that. And he's just such a charming, normal guy. With like obviously huge success. Like I'm sure his Cars residuals paid for many, many mortgages, So that movie alone, and like Wedding Crashers is like seminal to me. I graduated in 2006 and it came out the year before. So like, that was a movie that we brought on grad ski trip and it played like on loop with all of us. So like, yeah, Owen Wilson, I'm such a huge fan of. Like, and then he like went through his his dark time as well. I think like pretty quickly after too, like 07, 08, right?
Yeah, and that's this is like tricky to talk about because I want to say, and I feel like this might sound bad in a certain degree, but I actually want to use it as a positive on him, where it's telling of how just likable and charming he is and how everybody likes him, that I feel like when that news came out, it was one of those cases where the reaction really was like, oh no, like really like oh my God, that's too bad. And people were like really rooting for him to like turn things around. And obviously I feel like that should be the case with anyone that goes through that. But it was very noticeable that, like I just said, with the Eddie Murphy thing, sometimes you can tell when the media is like ready to pounce. Yes. And like, and like celebrate the downfall of someone. And I never got that vibe with Owen Wilson. No. It was more like, wow, that's like, and I remember just everyone being so shocked by it because he seemed so successful, right? And it was really that reminder of like, just because these celebrities are like wealthy and, like hobnobbing all around the world and dating beautiful people, that doesn't mean their life is amazing. Yeah. It's kind of like one of those like needed reminders of that. Not a needed reminder, but you know what I mean? It was just a shocking reminder of that.
And I bet the way that the world rallied for him, just helped him out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Owen Wilson, I have a hard time saying really anything bad about him. I mean,
he's made a lot of movies I don't like at all, but it's like you never turn on him.
No, totally, totally. Again, he's got that. He's a movie star. Mm-hmm. There's something about him. Okay, let's see if his movie stardom and Eddie Murphy's movie stardom,
yeah.
Did something.
Can they successfully turn this dramatic show into a hit comic? Oh, I guess we already know the answer to that. But on a quality level,
let's see if they won me and you over. That's it.
On the other side of this trailer.
What you're about to hear is a national secret.
This is Special Agent Alex Scott.
Special. I still love hearing that. I was just a regular agent until a couple weeks ago.
You'll be working with a civilian.
A civilian?
Introducing the undisputed champion of the world, Kelly Robinson.
Ow! Ow!
Mr. President. The president want me to do him a favor. Some kind of top secret mission or something.
Oh, you mean like 007?
Yeah, except only I'm gonna be 009 and a half.
That's good.
That's a little innuendo.
This man is Arnold Gundar's premier arms dealer. We believe he has this plane, the Switchblade.
The Switchblade is undetectable to radar, infrared, even the human eye.
Gunders is a boxing fanatic. There's only one shot we've got of getting you in there.
Kelly Robinson.
Are you going to be referring to yourself in the third person the whole time? Because that can get a little irritating.
Hey, what's in that bag?
Spy stuff.
This is your spy cam.
Look at the size of this thing. Size matters, but in the spy world, it's reversed. You want people to say, look how small and sexy and sleek this is, not how huge this is.
Hey, what you doing hanging from the ceiling like that? What you doing? No, don't walk. Hey, let me tell you something, man. You ain't gonna be telling me what to do all the time. I'm Kelly Robinson, baby. Don't talk to me like that. Oh, shit. Now put this in my eye.
And I got the camera in my eye.
Hey, I see me. Hey, I'm seeing what you seeing. I see me looking at you looking at me. I like this.
That's the type of thing we're gonna be doing on the mission.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, come on now. Let me at least see the good. Let me show you a little something. Kelly Robinson. Right. Hold on, here we go. You see that? That was a big explosion. Man!
I Spy.
Put that on. Man, this looks like a sock.
It's a spy mask. It's a special spy mask.
Hey, man, this is a sock. Hey!
Alex Scott, a second-rate operative for the U.S. government agency, BNS, is assigned the task of retrieving the Switchblade, a now stolen invisible stealth fighter jet being held for auction in Budapest by arms dealer Arnold Gundars. Alex is unexpectedly paired up with the championship boxer Kelly Robinson, who's appearing at a title fight in Budapest sponsored by Gundars and has been personally recruited for the mission by the President of the United States. As they set out on this mission, the serious-minded Alex and the loudmouth Kelly find themselves diametrically opposed and caught in a perpetual bickering relationship. Will they overcome their differences and foil Gundar's plans? Let's discuss it.
Man, Hollywood really loved stealth, like bombers and stealth fighters for a while there, didn't they?
Oh, big time.
Chris, I know this is a first time watch for both of us. We both went in with no knowledge of the show. Both just the barest minimum. Probably like me, you definitely recognize the poster for this movie. Like is burned into my mind for some reason. Another, like when you go back to like, how's it? It's really weird we never saw this, right? but yeah. So a first time watch. I'm curious to hear. I'll let you go first. What'd you think of I Spy?
Okay, so I'm of two minds with this one because I go back to something you said to me during, our every time we talk about these TV shows to movies, and it's something that you say is like, does it betray the show in the smallest, like the summation of, I guess, your monologues. Does it betray the show, or does it live up to what the show provided back in the day? Now, this one is quite different from the show, and that's coming from somebody who hasn't seen the show. But I just know that it wasn't like this. Obviously, Cosby and Culp had improvisational rapport in the show. Obviously, they got along, but looking at the research and everything we talked about, it's focused on the gritty, There's no gadgets. There's no tongue-in-cheek humor. And in this movie, it's all of that, which is strange. So it's hard for me to not like, as I even just said, but it's hard for me to not like Eddie Murphy and to not like Owen Wilson. Like, these are just two guys that I'm rooting for and I enjoy watching on TV in movies. And when they're together, I like it. I like that, Owen Wilson is that understated humor and Eddie Murphy's that big bombastic humor. Like, there's that dichotomy of their comedic performances. And again, I had some pretty good laughs in it, and I enjoyed it. Like, the movie in itself is like kind of this pleasant, inoffensive romp. It's very short. It's like 85 minutes. And I found myself enjoying it for sure, but just kind of when it was done, it was over, And then looking at the research for the show, the movie is in name only. Like, it really doesn't feel similar to the show. Like, even like the civilian plot, I said Kelly Robinson is a civilian boxer, and the president calls for his help for some reason, and then Alex Scott has to like help him along and train him and kind of learn on the fly. But in the show, they're kind of already experienced agents. So yeah, it's a strange choice to do that, honestly. And I don't really know why. Like, you even asked me before, why did they go so full on the comedy? And I struggled even to answer that question. So maybe we'll get to it truly here. But this is a movie that I did not hate. I thought it was totally fine, and some things were actually quite funny to me, and like a lot of the lines are really good, and I like the chemistry. And we haven't even mentioned her, but Famke Janssen's in this movie, and love her. This is right in the middle of X-Men and X-Men 2, so I found there was actually like genuine chemistry between her and Owen Wilson. But yeah, no, I thought it was like fine, but in the context of the show that we do here, not surprised. I guess that's what I would say. I'm not surprised that we didn't get more, and this kind of just, fucking bombed. So I'll throw it to you if you want to piggyback off that.
Nah, fuck this movie. My response will probably not surprise you, because I think this is a discussion we've had before, and we've always said, I've always felt like, and I've mentioned before how you're a little bit more lenient towards comedies, I think, than I am. Yeah. And I've always said like my least favorite kind of bad movie is a bad comedy, because a bad horror movie becomes a fun bad comedy, or a bad action movie becomes a fun comedy, but a bad comedy just like sits there. and the worst thing to me like is watching a movie that's trying to make you laugh and it's not working. But I don't want to like simplify it to that. I just want to quickly mention your point about like how your biggest hang up is the show element of it, and like whether it's like doing justice to the show. And in that regard, I actually found it almost offensive in like regards to how it changed the show, because I was after the fact reading about the show and seeing how it was this groundbreaking show at the time. The first show with a black actor in the lead role, and they're treated as equals. They're both like equal stature spies. And then to make the movie and take that show that was like groundbreaking for that reason, and then be like, okay, we're going to swap the characters, and now the black character is not a spy. And guess what? He's a pro athlete. It just felt so reductive, and like just kind of.
But he's
almost
like the most famous boxer of like in the history of the U.S.
Yeah, but he's also played as like the idiot of the duo, So it's kind of like that just seemed like why again it gets to like why are they even making that switch? It's strange because that's the kind of switch you seem like you'd think you would make if the show was like very, very famous and very iconic and you wanted to shock people. But I think we've already talked about how I feel like by this point it was already kind of like a forgotten show or didn't have like the same kind of built-in fan base. So it just seems like a weird choice. But even putting that aside, my bigger problem was I don't think the buddy comedy element works at all. I think a big part of that, and I'm not blaming Owen Wilson. This movie's not the fault of this movie really isn't on Owen Wilson or Eddie Murphy, to be fair. Yeah. Two obviously very talented comedic performers. The fault is with the script and like the story and what the movie is like asking them to do as these characters, because it seems to have like no real handle on the comedic or dramatic conceit of Owen Wilson's character. His like superiors at the beginning of the movie treat him like he's like a bad agent, and he sometimes talks about himself that way. But then when you get into like the action of the movie, he's always like totally competent. He's a good agent, and he has no arc necessarily. Like he's a good agent at the beginning who like everybody shits on, and at the end he still is that. And then, like you said, and then there with the Eddie Murphy character, I don't really understand the general conceit where the president calls him and says, like, hey, do you want to go on this mission? He's just immediately like, yes. Like, wouldn't it be funnier if he did not want to go on the mission, or he got kind of like roped into it and he was more like this real like fish out of water? But he's like so gung-ho about it until he's not, for like the purposes of some jokes. But the movie never really does a great job explaining why he would be so integral to this mission. Like, I get, like, they use him to get Owen Wilson into the party, but beyond that, it seems like he does not need to be a part of it anymore. So it's just, like, it never really works on any, like, base level. And, like, the final thing I'll say about the buddy comedy thing is the movie seems to have no sense of what is the proper high status, low status dynamic in this duo. That's why it doesn't work to me as, like, a buddy comedy. It's never really sure of, like, which one is supposed to be, like, the one we're really rooting for, which one is, like, the smarter one, which one is, like, the more capable one. It keeps, like, switching that back and forth. So I just felt like none of the comedy worked because it wasn't hitting on the necessary beats for, like, a really successful buddy comedy. So it just kind of, like, kept annoying me throughout the movie. So I, like, obviously have more things to say, but that's my general thought. Like, I really... This was like a rough watch for me, honestly.
Sometimes
like,
you have the largest stick up your butt.
For this 13% movie on Rotten Tomatoes that nobody liked, I'm gonna like.
I just sometimes I don't know, like sometimes it's a little too academic.
I think you only feel this way about me when we talk about comedies, and like I said, that's why
I do because I know what comedies you do watch, and I like those too. But I don't know, like this
funny
one,
ones.
You didn't find.
I'll tell you, there's only, and I mentioned this.
I'm not even gonna die on a hill for this movie, but I'm just like, oh man, it's not a.
I'll tell you the only funny joke, or the only joke that I thought was funny for me, right? Because obviously humor is also like entirely personal. But the only thing that even came close to like getting kind of a smile for me was the joke where Owen Wilson is stashed in the trunk of the car of the bad guys, and they don't know he's back there, and he's trying to like listen to the conversation, and you can kind of hear it, but not very well. And he takes out some of his like spy tech and puts in headphones and attaches it to the side of the car to like listen to them better. And it's like, it sounds even worse. Like that was funny to me. And that was kind of it. Like, and like I said, because you're saying I was sticking my butt. Obviously I find Eddie Murphy and Owen Wilson funny. But when you mentioned like the thing earlier where you said who doesn't like Eddie Murphy, I think there's definitely, we've talked about this too at the beginning, there have definitely been times where like the world was kind of sick of Eddie Murphy, right? And I think there is like good Eddie Murphy and there's bad Eddie Murphy. And I think one of the versions of bad Eddie Murphy is like overwhelming and overpowering Eddie Murphy. And boy, was I sick of hearing him say Kelly Robinson by the end of the movie? Yes. Was I sick of like just how much he was like consistently kind of like steamrolling Owen Wilson? Like I get what the idea is, right? He's the more boisterous one. Owen Wilson is the more lackadaisical one. But I really felt like it wasn't doing Owen Wilson any favors, just how much Eddie Murphy was just like going just so hard in every scene. And I found it more aggravating than funny usually, personally.
And you didn't like that Owen Wilson was playing like this like everyman spy? Like, I know you kind of talked about how it doesn't have a firm handle on who he is, and I actually disagree. I think they have a firm handle on him just being like an everyman spy. Like, he's not James Bond. He's not Ethan Hunt. He's if you were a spy.
But
and
what's
he does
the
his
joke
job,
of that?
he does his
or
job
what's, like, the arc of that?
semi-competently. The arc, I'd have to get back to you on that one. but the joke of it is like him being like kind of surprised by it working out or not working out. Like,
I don't think he ever is surprised. I think he knows. Like that's what I mean. Like I think even though his
he's surprised by the balloon part, like when they're raising up, and then he's like, "Damn, oh man, I wish the balloon worked better than it did." Like the escape idea doesn't exactly work. So like that whole scene when they're playing off each other and escaping that big, like from the gala or whatever, the auction,
yeah.
And then they have to like, they both bring their skills set to kind of like to get out of it, and. Right. I don't know. You didn't find any enjoyment out of that?
So he's like surprised that something doesn't work there. But this is what I mean. Like in general, though, if the movie sets up this idea at the beginning that he's kind of like this, like this lesser agent, right? Which
he technically is.
It's that typical storyline that almost always works, right? They're going to have to prove themselves throughout the movie, except he knows he's actually a good agent. He knows that like he can already kind of sense in the beginning how Carlos is kind of like, is that the character's name? The Gary Cole character?
Yeah.
He can sense that Carlos is like full of shit. Like he sees through Carlos in a way everyone else doesn't. Like they're also in it. He's like, you're not that great. You know, he knows it and he knows he's fine. So that's what I mean. Like I wish if in the first like 10 or so minutes, he seemed really down on himself. And by the end, he was like, no, actually, I'm a good agent. But like, I think throughout the entire movie, he knows he's a good agent and he is a good agent. He's entirely capable. So there's just like nothing to his character. He's just like, he's a perfectly capable agent that for some reason everybody else doesn't like that much. And at the end, they still don't. It's not like he gets the respect. The respect still goes to Carlos. So nothing really changes for him throughout the movie. And that's just, to me, that's kind of like, even in a dumb comedy, that's still screenwriting 101, right? There should still be some kind of arc to trace.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to explain to you why this movie like died on the vine, you know? Like I'm
No, yeah, sure. You didn't like their chemistry like at all? Nothing did it for you, eh?
I really, like I said, I
not
think
to be reductive of even this conversation, but like sometimes we get in these conversations regarding these types of comedies, and I don't know, it's weird because it's like I'm not even here to defend it, as I said, but
well, that's what I mean. Like
it's
I
like
this
like, weirdly like
I don't want to bristle
diametrically
too much against you saying I get too academic about comedies, but even comedy is still an art form, and it's, you know, we're talking about these movies as like, are they like successful in what they're aiming for as like an art form? And I think I'm just trying to explain to you, like, to me, why even on a comedic level, like I said, in terms of their chemistry, it's fine. But I do think Eddie Murphy actually is like too overwhelming in this. I think he's just dialed up a little too much.
Right.
And I think he was the more aggravating version of Eddie Murphy to me in this. And I've seen there are Eddie Murphy movies that like he really works, and there are other movies where I'm like, oh boy, he's just too much in this. And I think that was the case in this. I think he was really kind of stealing the thunder from Owen Wilson a little bit in that regard.
Sure, but also like again by design, and I guess if the design doesn't work for you, then I guess that's what it is. But I don't know. I found it just, it's funny because while I was watching it. I learned that this is one of the very few movies that my father-in-law owns. So I know my mother-in-law listens. So,
or even on, again, I'm going to annoy you again, but even on like what I say about the character arc thing, like even on like the Kelly Robinson thing, right? Okay, so we make the change to where he's like this pro boxer. So again, what works in comedy and what works in just storytelling is to put your characters in positions where, you know, we're like rooting for them to overcome something, or there's like some kind of like possible dramatic low for them. And the movie just consistently tells us he's like the best boxer in the world. He knows he's the best boxer in the world, and there's never really any doubt that he's like going to win this fight. So like, why not actually make this other guy is fighting like a real opponent? Like, you know, like maybe there's a real danger he's going to lose the fight or something, or he's coming off of his first loss or something, and that's why he's like, you know, he's never thought he was going to lose, and he just lost, and so that's why he has to like be more intrigued to enter the spy world, because suddenly he's starting to see, well, maybe I don't have a future as a boxer. You know, there's like these little changes, and maybe I'm overthinking what you could do with I Spy, but like
I think those changes makes it more in line with the show for sure. That's I guess where I would I don't know if agree is the word, but I think, you know, you love to rewrite a movie, and if you wanted to rewrite the movie to make it better, then like, I mean, that's not really what that I guess that's what frustrates me. It's like, yeah, you can do a lot of things differently, but it just comes off as rewriting the movie to me.
Well, I think you can only like point out you call it rewriting the movie, but I also see it as just pointing out what is broken inherently in the movie as it exists.
But what you wished it would be to be something different.
Well, yeah, better. Like that's.
No, I know, but what I'm getting at is like the mission statement of the movie. The mission statement of the movie that you're describing that you want is definitely in line with the show more because it would add that dramatic flair, right? And actually, at that point,
I'm not even talking about dramatic flair though. I'm talking about even comedies. Even comedies put characters through the ringer and put them through like dramatic arcs. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking
not every comedy.
The best ones, the ones that are the most successful, they do.
Austin Powers?
Like, yes. Like Austin Powers has much more of a character arc than Kelly Robinson and Special Agent Alex Scott. And that's why Austin Powers turned into a 3-film franchise.
Yeah.
You want to go back to the Austin Powers thing? Okay, well, here's me rewriting the movie again, apparently. But you know what else Austin Powers had? A very funny, memorable villain.
Yeah, the villain's bad in this, for sure.
Here you get Malcolm McDowell, and you give him one of those like parts, and you have like Malcolm McDowell, who, well, first of all, will be in any movie if you would just offer him like a ham sandwich, But also, it is Malcolm McDowell. He will also, speaking of ham, he will ham it up for you. He will go overboard. And they don't even like ask him to do that. And this is that kind of like role that it's when I don't know about you. Sometimes when I watch movies and I think about those roles, and especially when they have like really famous actors in them, it's so weird because we hear these actors do all these like interviews and stuff talking about how seriously they take their art form and like the kind of prep they put into these characters and something. And I'm always like, what is it like when you're like an actor like Malcolm McDowell? You've been in Kubrick movies, and then you're like playing this part. And it's like, is there even ever a single moment where he has to go to Betty Thomas and be like, what's my motivation in this scene? What is my character like thinking? It's like, no, you just know you're just there to say the line and like move the scene to the next point. And it's like, it's kind of depressing.
No, I get it. It's beneath him.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Star of Star Trek Generations.
Don't you dare.
Did you know that Eddie Murphy was supposed to be the star of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home? That was actually originally built as a vehicle for him, and then he dropped out.
Really? What was he going to do?
He was going to be, when they went back in the past, he was going to be like a scientist that they meet up with, and he becomes funny. Kind of more like the part that became like the woman in the movie instead. That was going to be Eddie Murphy because he was a big Star Trek fan and he wanted to be in that. And the movie was actually going to end with him then going into the future with them and becoming a member of Starfleet. But yeah. Then all of a sudden he dropped out and they were like, oh crap, and they had to like hurriedly rewrite the movie. So.
Well, now I have to put the music underneath this. God damn it. God damn it.
I always get you.
Yeah. You didn't like the sexual healing joke?
No.
Oh my god. Why? I guess. Okay. I guess. I don't know.
I think it's funny that you're getting this frustrated. Like, this is funnier to me than anything in the movie.
I'm not even frustrated. I'm like at a loss. I'm like defeated.
I'm just shocked that you're like so surprised and so defeated by me not liking this movie that like the world unanimously was like, nah, and like has been kind of like forgotten today,
Yeah, but like, also like the timing of it too. Like, I guess I just don't understand the vitriol. That's what I'm getting at. I understand it not working.
I don't hate this like a maximum ride.
You said you opened this conversation saying, "Nah, fuck this movie."
Well, yeah, but I mean I was just trying to be flippant, coming off of you like praising it. Like, is this a maximum ride to me? No. Is this a love guru? No. But did I watch it entirely stone-faced the whole time and then at the end be like, well, I will definitely forget this later? Yes. So that's what I mean. Like, I don't like. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't like miserable watching this. This isn't one of our worst watches ever. I'm just telling you that again. This is my thing. Like, a bad comedy kind of bothers me in a way that other genres don't, because I know it's trying to make me laugh and I want to laugh. And I'm coming to this with like two comedic performers who I like, who have made me laugh before.
Sure.
And I just see the seams and like what's not working for me. And so it's not rewriting the movie. It's just identifying what did they get wrong? Like, what's not working here? And it's just so easy for me to see,
No, and I get that. And I guess I will allow you to say that you didn't sit there miserable. Because that's honestly that's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing you sitting there with your arms crossed and just like impress me movie. You know, like I just. But you're saying you weren't like that. You were it just wasn't working for whatever reason. Okay, fair enough.
I mean, look, I went into like Beautiful Creatures with the same level of like dread, and ended up liking it. And I know it's not a comedy, but there were comedic elements that worked for me in that. We talked about how that movie actually made us laugh quite a bit.
Yeah,
I was not sitting here watching this movie with my arms crossed, angry, but I will say I was watching it with just like a blank expression and being like, yeah, this is not funny, and like maybe like perking up a little whenever like Famke Janssen was on screen or something. But in general, like it really didn't work. And I think it sounds like we both agree on something. Like we both agree that like the civilian thing kind of makes no sense. Like I don't really understand that change, and like so. It really does feel like a failing of like on a concept level of like trying to do something with the I Spy property for sure.
I think so too. Yeah. I think so too. I think there's a lot of reasons why this movie failed, and I think I'm not going to discount truly everything you're feeling. Of course, like I know the Rotten Tomatoes score. Okay, I did the research.
This is interesting. Do you think there's anything to this too? And like this is, and I'm not even saying this is like where necessarily I'm coming from, but we talked about how this is like the third bomb in a row for Eddie Murphy. Mm-hmm. And I talked about how like I don't even know if you agree with what I said, but I do think there is like a camp like me who kind of likes Eddie Murphy when he's like just a tad more subdued maybe, or like I don't know. There are times where he can be like a bit too much. And he's playing such a he's playing so high status in this and so full of himself and like this like untouchable character who's like the biggest star in the world. He knows he's the biggest star in the world.
Right.
Do you think like the audience that, especially coming off of a couple bombs, was like, fuck this, like they
that was exactly what I was thinking for sure. Yeah. Like again, the movie's the movie as well, but I think the cultural conversation maybe surrounding the movie, it came after Pluto Nash. And even as a child at that point, like, what was that, 2002? So I was 13 years old. Yeah. I knew that movie was a giant bomb. Like, it was all that Entertainment Tonight was talking about. You know what I mean? And what a stain on this man's career, and how hilarious it is to take this guy down. Mm-hmm. And I think I Spy came out right after that.
Yeah. You don't want to do at that point. When the culture say they hate you, play a character who's just a complete egomaniac. Totally.
100%. And I guess, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen an Eddie Murphy egomaniac movie. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like playing this type of character. So maybe I wasn't as annoyed by it. But I absolutely understand in 2002 for sure being like, nah, not today.
Yeah.
I guess more it is. Maybe I'm coming defensively because of the Owen Wilson of it all. Maybe that's what it is. I'm trying to like find like what I even, because I was even like trying to think of what I rate this movie, and it's like maybe like a 60%. Like something like not even something to get super, defensive about. But I think there's something about Owen Wilson that every movie he's in, I just like him so much. He's so endearing to me. I thought his little comments and his little asides in this movie were just like really sweet and funny. I liked him trying to win over Famke Janssen's her character. I was kind of like rooting for him, you know what I mean? And rooting, and also what I liked in the movie was I liked him kind of proving, this is what I wanted more of actually. I wanted him to prove Kelly wrong more. And they sort of
the movie.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna get to the point about the scene. I'm keeping scenes intact, baby. Okay. But the scene when he plays that test on him, right?
Yeah.
That they gotta save him and then prove, okay, this was a test for you. I do wish there was a little bit more of like everybody was truly in on it to get Kelly Robinson to buy in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I think that was a little too easy. And maybe a little bit more wink wink, because in the beginning of the movie it did feel like there was going to be more wackiness.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, like The Naked Gun is about to come out, and I mean that's slapstick comedy of course, but there was like hints of wackiness in the beginning of this movie, like even you said the behind enemy lines scene. Mm-hmm. And the guy
Carlos, right? For sure.
Or
The entire
totally.
character of Carlos, you know.
Oh, 100%. And then like the size of Alex's like spy gadgets, they're all like oversized, you know?
Yeah. And I'll say, actually, to be fair, I said the only scene that like really kind of got like a little slight like even chuckle out of me was the trunk scene, but like the comedic character that probably worked the best for me was Carlos.
Yeah, he was fun.
And that was kind of like when he showed up, I did have that like, oh my god, they have Gary Cole playing Carlos. I was like very worried, and then the movie immediately calls it out, right? That he's this guy who's full of shit who just started calling himself Carlos and acting like he's Spanish, and I was like, oh okay. And once I realized that was the joke, and I just love Gary Cole, and obviously you know he's worked with Betty Thomas in Brady Bunch movie where he's awesome, and so she brought him back here, and yeah, I mean like. Did he ever make me laugh out loud? No. But was that a good joke? And is Gary Cole just like nailing it? Yes. So
yeah.
I
think Roger Ebert said like this was a series of stand-up routines, and yeah, like there's not a lot of meat to the bones of this movie for sure.
Yeah.
The dramatic crux really isn't
what
there
I mean.
either,
Like
so.
what you just said was true. Like I think your point about like how the movie doesn't really follow through with like the scene where they like fake the test for Kelly.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I mean. Like if that really brought Kelly down a notch, right? And then for the rest of the movie, he was more like okay, I get it. Or he was like, now he was trying to impress Owen Wilson's character or something. Like I said, that's what I just mean, where the movie never really seems to figure out like what their relationship is, right? Who's trying to impress who's like the boss in this relationship. That's never made clear. And I think that's really, really important in a buddy comedy to figure out who's like the one who's like being more exacerbated by the other consistently. Like that needs to work. And I felt like it was like there was just an imbalance here. To your point about Owen Wilson, I am not trying to hurt Owen Wilson's feelings on this or anything, you know, and as I said, I'm not holding this against him at all. I wish he had a better script to work with here. I think he comes away pretty much untainted. And to be fair, even what I'm saying about Eddie Murphy, I think he comes away untainted too. It's a bit much, but like he's doing what Eddie Murphy does, you know, and I think, you know, I think it was probably more aggravating to audiences at the time because of what we were just talking about. But yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I like Owen Wilson. I'm always rooting for Owen Wilson. That doesn't mean I'm going to say like Drillbit Taylor is good or like Hall Pass is good. You know, the guy still makes bad movies. So.
Sure. No, yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
You just hate Marley and Me.
I've actually never seen it, but I know I would probably cry, so I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston dies in that one.
Oh, that's not who I thought died, but.
It is Jennifer Aniston, right, in that one?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, good. I got that joke. Yeah, okay, I'm right. Okay, joke works. Okay. Okay, the eye and ear gadget? No?
I mean, I like that as an idea.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
right?
It is actually a good idea, yeah.
Yeah. And I did like that it kind of has a nice little setup, a middle gag, and then it has a payoff to like bring the action home. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like the moment where it turns back on during the fight.
All right, hold on. I agree with that. That's one for you.
Yeah, you get a point. I will say I've been tearing the screenplay apart, but on a basic 3-act structure screenplay level, the fact that it turns back on in the third act during the fight, and that's what brings Eddie Murphy back, like that works, you know.
Great, excellent. Okay, I just want to make sure for the record. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you going to start telling Liz that you want to go on stakeouts?
No.
Okay. No. That's a point deducted for me. Back to 0.
How early in the movie did you predict that twist, by the way?
I guess yes and no, because I was like, okay, well, we hired Xenia Onatopp to be in this movie.
And they do make jokes about her breaking men's backs during sex, too.
They did. And but I actually did buy into the chemistry between her and Owen Wilson. Who doesn't love him? I don't know. I have chemistry with him. What else was here? I liked when they fix everything, right? But then they get in the plane and then they crash it anyway. Like, so they're like, we're heroes, let's go. And then they crash the plane and then they realize, oh my God, there was a bomb to this too. And then they're like, we're heroes again. You gonna laugh at that?
No.
Do you like when we talk about these comedies? This is always what happens.
Well, okay,
I just start naming quotes, reciting quotes to you, and asking you, you like that?
Yeah. I'm having flashbacks to the Land of the Lost episode when we talked about the scene where they get high and are just sitting around the campfire. And you're like, wasn't this like the funniest thing? And I was like, I hated it.
Oh my god. Yeah. Well, there you go. What about the hard cut in the sewers to Kelly's talking about his childhood? You don't like that?
You know what movie I was like comparing this to, and again, I know you should never do, but like a version of this that like we've seen and works is Get Smart.
Totally.
Like is like because I thought of that when you were talking earlier when you mentioned the point about the Naked Gun and how this and like the goofiness, and I think Get Smart like leaned into that goofiness, and obviously Get Smart was adapting a goofy parody show.
Totally.
And this is not, but this has made the decision to be a comedy. So I think you're actually right that it should have leaned more in that Get Smart direction.
Yeah.
And like gone further with like that wackiness.
It's like the 21 Jump Street thing.
Yeah. And that's like a great way to like save the Malcolm McDowell character, right? Let him have like one like crazy stupid monologue or something that's like so, and like that everybody makes fun of or something, or give him some kind of comedic reason for being in this, Also, like too, like now again, I know it's not the show. They weren't trying to make the show, but reading about how the show is like this like beautiful like globe-trotting show that went to these like exotic locales, and then this one they just go to Budapest, which is like where movies go when they have really low budgets. And then they go to Budapest, and then they don't even like take advantage of Budapest. Really, it's all in like warehouses and ugly like buildings.
Yeah, I agree. That was one thing that stood out for sure, because I did the research actually after watching the movie. And when it said that the show is known for exotic locales, that was a big fumble. Why not be a little bit more globetrotting? Yeah.
No offense to our Budapest listeners. Like I said, I don't even think they just take advantage of what is beautiful about Budapest. Like, so they get there and it's just like, okay, now let's spend the entire time inside this like hotel and like.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Just a soundstage again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I get it.
I'm glad you had more fun than me. I'm glad one of us like got something out of it. But
yeah, like do I agree with my father-in-law owning the movie? No.
Yeah. Are you going to buy the 4K re-release of I Spy?
No, I'm not. Am I ever going to watch it again? No. But I guess I did have marginally just a little bit more fun with it. However, does it deserve more sequels? I probably agree with you if they toned down Eddie Murphy a little bit more and lean more into the goofiness, maybe, if you're going to go full comedy. But I think you're right that this is kind of, from the hop, it is, it's misguided.
It's conceptually broken, right? Like even again, here I come again criticizing the screenplay for I Spy, but you and I both read that they legit were like they bought this and were hoping to turn it into a franchise. Well, then again, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot with like the civilian change, right? Because like now, every time you're gonna have to justify why this boxer would go along with him on this mission, like that. And so okay, the obvious way around it is end the movie with them saying like, guess what? You did such a good job. We've decided to like invite you into the agency. They don't do that. So it's like you're kind of like, why aren't you setting yourself up for a sequel more at the end? Instead, I'm just kind of like, why would these two guys ever have to work together again?
Totally.
Yeah. Weird creative choices in this.
Yeah, a strange one. Strange one for sure. And I mean, I know the answer to this question, but I guess to get it on recording. For the courts. Did it deserve sequels for you?
What if I was like, well, actually, after all this, I was like, well, you know what? Actually, I think, they should have like given it another shot. But no, like I said, they didn't set themselves up well enough for one. And I think I get why this one kind of came and went. So sure. I'm perfectly fine with this being the only I Spy.
Yeah. It's interesting. Did you see that the TV show had a sequel?
I did, like a TV movie, and they were trying to bring back the show, but they just did the one.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, they had a TV movie that was an unsold pilot for the new sequel series as well, and that didn't get off the ground. So
well, and here's the thing too, like this just popped into my mind, and like so here I'm gonna be fair to the movie for a second, because we just talked about how like it's really why they make this decision to turn it into a comedy. What's even the thinking on that? But as I sit here and think about it. Even though I said I Spy, other than the Bill Cosby element of it, sounds like something right up my alley and sounds really cool, and it definitely sounds like I can get why it was groundbreaking at the time. I guess there's kind of nothing inherently super like compelling about like two spies go out and do their job well. You know, like, so because I was just trying to think, you know, we sometimes talk about like, well, if there's not sequels to this, do we want to see it rebooted later? Like, would we want to see a new attempt at I Spy? And I ask myself like that, and I go like, well, honestly, if you're telling me, do you want to see like just a drama about these two spies who are doing their job? And it's like, I guess, but like, does that need to be I Spy? You know, can't that just be anything? So I will give them, I guess it's kind of fair to be like, if I set down this property too, I might not know how to approach it because it's not the 60s anymore, right? It's not going to be groundbreaking. Right. It's not going to be groundbreaking to have a black guy and a white guy work together anymore. No. It's not going to be mind-blowing to an audience to go to exotic locales anymore. You know, all the things that made that show amazing at the time aren't true anymore. So like, what do you do with this? You know, totally. So this is probably a property that I think is most likely just going to stay dead.
I think so too, and not even like honestly, just purely from the Cosby stuff. I think that's probably the biggest one. But let's take that out of it. I think you're right. I think it's just too old of a concept to be brought to a modern audience to think it's anything worth exploring or watching. So I guess that's the answer to the original question. Is you kind of got to flip it on its head. And lean really heavily into the comedy aspect.
Yeah.
So,
or go like pure action with it and do like what Mission Impossible did, right? And just ultimately end up with a series of movies that don't feel at all like the show. But even that, as you said, is not going to happen because Bill Cosby. So, yeah.
Okay. Summer Surprise rolls on.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got next? Here, hold on. I gotta bring the
House with the Clock in its Walls.
Oh, yes. The House with a Clock in its Walls from 2018. That's the next one we're looking at on August 12th. And then August 26th, we're going to round out Summer Surprise with, a movie. Some may say, but it's the Garbage Pail Kids movie from 1987. So
it's obviously a movie. It's right there in the title. So at least we know. You know?
I hope in the research we find out that it's based on a TV show. Wait, it's based on something, isn't it?
It's based on trading cards. It's even worse than
Oh my god. I've forgotten. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll do it. Let's get out of here. Follow along at F2FPod. That's at F2, the number 2 FPod on all the socials. Like us there, like us everywhere. Rate, review, whatever you do. Give us a star rating. That'd be cool. And just join the tribe and hit that subscribe. And let's go along with Summer Surprise.
I just gonna if any of you out there do end up writing a review for us, let us know in your review if you think Chris and I have better comedic chemistry than Owen Wilson and Eddie Murphy.
Do we want to know that answer? Let's have a little bit of a friendly debate on...
We've been agreeing too much lately. Like...
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Let's just have a little bit more of a... Not again, contentious is not the word. But, let's have some fun with our dynamic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
On fucking I Spy.
Yeah. An episode nobody will listen to.
Oh my god.